All humans are equal in death. Everyone eventually stops breathing, and the body returns to dust. But perhaps this truth is not absolute. Some bodies did not decay. Even after decades, sometimes centuries, they lie as if they died yesterday. Who were these people? And why didn't their bodies decompose? Is this a mere coincidence science cannot explain, or a message left by the divine? The first case is Saint Bernadette Soubirous, a young girl from Lourdes, France. Born in 1844 to a poor family, she became famous in 1858, at the age of 14, for claiming to see the Virgin Mary 18 times. Her visions led to Lourdes becoming a major pilgrimage site. Saint Bernadette Soubirous, she was the visionary of the Marian apparitions in Lourdes, and a saint whose life was anything but ordinary. February 11th, 1858. At the age of 14, Bernadette Soubirous was gathering firewood near the Massabielle grotto with her sister and a friend when she experienced her first vision. A woman dressed in white, with a light blue sash around her waist, appeared before her. Her head and shoulders were covered with a white veil. A rosary hung from her arm, and yellow roses bloomed beneath her feet. Bernadette was captivated by her beauty. Almost instinctively, she took out her own rosary and began to pray. When the prayer ended, the woman gently bowed her head toward Bernadette and vanished. A few days later, on February 18th, the woman spoke to her for the first time. "Come to this grotto every day for 2 weeks." And then she added, "I do not promise you happiness in this world, but in the next." On February 25th, the woman pointed to a small patch of muddy ground and said, "Drink from the spring and wash yourself." People thought Bernadette had gone mad, but soon from that muddy ground, a clear spring began to flow. Those who drank from it or washed with it, many of them began to experience healing. Word of these miracles spread rapidly. In 1860, 7 of the cases were officially recognized as medically inexplicable by Professor Henri Verger. The first was a woman whose right hand had become deformed after an accident. Then came March 25th. Bernadette asked the woman her name 4 times. The first 3 times, there was only a smile. But on the 4th, the woman answered, "I am the Immaculate Conception." As attention surrounding the apparitions grew, Bernadette withdrew from the public eye. She joined a hospice school run by the Sisters of Charity in Nevers, where she learned to read and write. Later, she joined the convent at Saint Gildas, working quietly as a nurse's assistant and sacristan. But the health issues she suffered as a child, including cholera, took a toll. She battled chronic asthma, tuberculosis, and bone disease. On the morning of April 16th, 1879, during Easter week, she passed away from long-term illness at just 35 years old. Her body was laid to rest in the chapel of St. Joseph at the Saint Gildas convent. Years later, as part of the canonization process, her coffin was opened 3 times, in 1909, 1919, and 1925, in the presence of local officials, church authorities, and medical examiners. All procedures followed both French civil law and church canon law. And yet, each time the coffin was opened, what they found defied expectation. Bernadette's body had not decayed. She appeared as if she were peacefully asleep. In the third and final exhumation of 1925, a surgeon named Dr. Comte, who participated in the autopsy, wrote in his official report for the Lourdes Medical Association,
"What surprised me the most was that the skeleton, the muscles, the ligaments, and even the skin were all perfectly preserved. But above all, the liver, after 46 years, was still in a state I never expected. The liver is soft and fragile. It should have decomposed long ago or turned chalky, but when I cut it, it was soft and almost normal in texture. I pointed this out immediately and said, 'This does not seem to be a natural phenomenon.'"
Later that year, in 1933, Pope Pius XI canonized Bernadette as a saint. Her feast day is celebrated on April 16th. And even now, in a glass reliquary at Saint-Gildas, her body remains, untouched by time or decay. A quiet testimony to faith, to mystery, to something beyond the natural. In the year 1830, an age of upheaval, a miraculous event began in a quiet convent in Paris, France, an event that would shake the world. At the Daughters of Charity of Saint Vincent de Paul, in the Rue du Bac district of Paris, a 24-year-old nun named Catherine Labouré lived a life of deep prayer. Since childhood, she had dreamed of meeting the Virgin Mary, and at last, that dream became reality. She would experience 2 apparitions of the Blessed Virgin. The first took place on the night of July 18th, 1830. Awakened by the voice of a child calling her name, Catherine was guided to the chapel. There, at the front of the altar, she encountered the Virgin Mary. Mary sat silently, glowing with a soft, radiant light, and then she delivered a prophetic warning. She foretold disaster in France, blasphemy against the cross and the faith, and great suffering for the Archbishop of Paris. Exactly 9 days later, on July 27th, 1830, the prophecy came true. The July Revolution erupted in Paris. Barricades filled the streets, religious figures were persecuted, churches fell into silence, and crosses were trampled. The Virgin's warning had been fulfilled. 4 months later, on the evening of November 27th, the Virgin appeared to Catherine once again. This time, she held a golden globe in her hands and stood upon a serpent under her feet. Without words, beams of light burst forth from her hands, a symbol of grace being poured out onto the world. And then came a clear instruction: create a medal in this image. To all who wear it with faith, graces will be given. Following this command, in the year 1832, with the approval of the Archbishop of Paris, 2,000 medals were produced. At first, it was called the Medal of the Immaculate Conception. But soon, as miraculous healings, conversions, and protections spread, people began calling it something else: the Miraculous Medal. Catherine, however, remained hidden. She never revealed that she was the one who had seen the Virgin. Instead, she lived a quiet life, caring for the sick and the elderly in the convent. Her identity remained a secret throughout her life. In 1933, during the process of beatification, her body was exhumed, and what they found stunned everyone. Her body was incorrupt. Even her blue eyes had retained their color, as if she were merely sleeping. Her body was placed in a glass coffin beneath the altar of the Chapel of the Miraculous Medal on Rue du Bac, where thousands of pilgrims visit each year to pray. In 1947, Pope Pius XII canonized her as a saint, and today her legacy lives on in the hearts of the faithful around the world. The Miraculous Medal is not just an ornament, it is a message from heaven, a flame that rekindles faith in the darkest of times. And Saint Catherine Labouré was the one who carried that flame into the world.